Hello learners, welcome back to your education channel Learn and Educate. In the previous video, we have learned about section 75, 76, 77, and now we'll continue with that under that part 4 suits in particular cases, suits by or against the government or public officers in their official capacity. Section 79 suits by government or suits against government. In a suit by or against the government, the authority to be named as a plaintiff or defendant, as the case may be, the authority which would be considered as a plaintiff and a defendant are, in the case of the suits by the central government, the Union of India. In the case of suit is against the central government, the Union of India will be the defendant or plaintiff. And in the case of a suit by the state government, then the state government will be the plaintiff, and in the case of a suit is against the state government, then the defendant will be a state government. Either the Union of India or the state government would be the plaintiff or defendant, as the case may be. Section 80, subsection 1. Otherwise, same as otherwise in subsection 1, 2, that means whatever in subsection 2 is said, no suit shall be instituted against the government, including the government of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, or against the public officer in the respect of any act done to be done by such public officer in his official capacity until the expiration of the 2 months notice, 2 months next after notice in writing has been delivered to the to or left at the office in the case of a suit against the central government, except when it relates to relevance the secretary to that government, when the case relates to the central government, but no case shall be made against any public officer in respect of any act to be done in a public capacity until the expiration of the 2 months after the notice has been given delivered to the secretary in the case of central government. And B, in case of a suit against the central government where it relates to the railway, then the general manager of the railway, when it relates to the railway, then to the general manager of the railway notice must be issued. Double B, in the case of a suit against this government of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, the chief secretary of that government, the chief secretary of that government, or any other officer authorized by that government, to whom the notice will be issued if the suit is against the state of Jammu and Kashmir. We see, in the case of a suit against any other state government, a secretary to that government or that collector of the district, and in the case of a public officer delivered to him or left at his office, stating the cause of the action, to state the cause of the action and the name, the description, and the place of residence of the plaintiff and the relief which he claims, and the plaint shall contain a statement that such notice has been so delivered or left, and the statement must contain that such a notice has been delivered or left, and in the note in the stating the cause of action in the notice, name, description, and the place of residence of the plaintiff, and the relief which he claims must be stated in the plaint. The name, description, and the place of residence of the plaintiff himself, and in the case of a public officer, it must be delivered to him, his office, or any other state government, to the secretary of that government or to the collector of that district. Subsection 2 of section 80. Subsection 2 deals with a suit to obtain an urgent or immediate relief against the government, including the state of Jammu and Kashmir, or any public officer in respect of any act which is done by such public officer in his official capacity, which may be instituted with the leave of the court. When the suit is to obtain an urgent or immediate relief against the government, then it will be upon such public officer in his official capacity that it may be instituted filed with the leave of the court without serving any notice as required by subsection 1, without serving any notice as required under subsection 1, but the court shall not grant relief in the suit if with the leave of the court without serving any notice as required by subsection 1. When notice is served, then only the court will grant the relief. The court will not grant relief when the notice is not served, where interim or otherwise, except after giving to the government or a public officer, as the case may be, a reasonable opportunity. After giving to the reasonable opportunity of being heard, the court shall not grant a relief in the suit unless it has given an opportunity to the government or public officer of showing his of showing cause in respect of the relief paid for the suit, provided that the court shall, if it satisfied after hearing the parties that no urgent or immediate relief need to be granted in the suit, return the plaintiff for the presentation to it after complying with the requirements of subsection 1. Shall return the court shall return provided that the court shall return that there is no urgent or immediate relief need to be granted, then the on the presentation of it to the parties, then the court may grant or return the plaint for the presentation it after complying with the requirement of section 1. If it is not complied for requirement under subsection 1, then there is no urgent immediate relief, then the court decides that the requirements of the subsection 1 should be complied with. Section 80, subsection 3. No suit which is filed against the government or against a public officer in the respect of any act done by such public officer in his official capacity shall be dismissed merely on the reasons of any error or any defect in the notice which is referred to in subsection 1. If such notice A has been describe the name, description, and the residence of the plaintiff has been so given to help the appropriate authority or the public officer to identify the persons serving the notice, and such a notice has been delivered has been delivered to or left at the office of the appropriate authority specified in subsection 1, and B, the cause of action and the relief claimed by the plaintiff, the cause of the action and the relief claimed by the plaintiff has been substantially indicated. It's a section 80 subsection 3 deals with about how an act done it must be shall be dismissed in his official capacity by reasons of an error or defect in the notice. If there is a defect in the or error in the notice, then it may be dismissed, and the name, description, and the residence of the plaintiff must be mentioned so as to help the appropriate authority to identify the person who is serving the notice, and the cause of action and the relief which is claimed, the cause of action and the relief claimed by the plaintiff